All right. Happy Sabbath. Going to continue the book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, or the Hebrew name Wisdom of Ben Sira. Happy Sabbath if you're keeping it today, unless you're watching another day. Let's see, share this. Gonna share it. There we go. Should be shared. Yep. Should be shared. All right. This is normally considered apocrypha by people. But what most don't realize is Jerome, in about 400 AD, came up with the term apocrypha, which just means hidden. It was never considered hidden before that. It was considered scripture. So, and I've explained some other stuff in earlier videos if you want to watch those. But we're on to chapter 44. It's one of my favorite sections of the book. So I'm really excited about this. So here it is, praise of the fathers of old. See what J says. See, he's got a J right here. So you go down here. Where's the J at? H-I-J. The title, so you got it right there. The title appears as a superscription in Hebrew. So here. And in Greek as this here. It is probably not original. Yeah. And he's got Hebrew there. So can't quite make out what that says. But all right. So chapter 44, Wisdom of Ben Sira. Let me now hymn the praises of men of piety. That's holy men. Pious men of our fathers in their generations. No little glory did the Most High allot them, and they were great from the days of old. So they got their glory from the Most High. Got a lot of notes here to go with it. So you got here this Hebrew, and it's the B manuscript he's referencing. Should I get that to blow up a little more? Yeah. Not too much though, I'm cutting off the page. That's where I'd like to have it, but I guess I gotta go out here a little bit. So men who wielded dominion over the earth and their royalty. He said he made us, what's Peter say, a nation of kings and priests? What are kings? Royalty. So it's not a New Testament concept. There were already men of royalty back then. And men of renown in their might. And what's going to happen when everybody's raised from their graves? They're just going to take a lower position. We'll take whatever position we get, but just saying. And men of renown in their might. David got his strength from God, from Yahuwah. Counselors in their discernment, and all-seeing in their prophetic power. Princes of nations in their stateship. Princes. And trusted leaders in their penetration. Clever of speech in their scribal instruction. And speakers of wise sayings in their tradition. Greek misunderstands the Hebrew. That's what happens when you can compare the Greek to the Hebrew. So continuing, devisers of psalms according to rule. David. And authors of proverbs and books, Solomon. Men of resource and supported with strength, and living at ease in their dwelling places. All these were honored in their generation, and in their days had glory. Some of them there are who have left a name, that men might tell of their praise, and some of them there are who have no memorial, so that there was an end of them when they came to their end. They were as though they had not been, and their children after them. Nevertheless, these were men of piety, and their good fortune shall not come to an end. With their seed, their prosperity remaineth sure, and their inheritance to their children's children. In their covenant, their seed abideth, and their children's children for their sakes. Greek and Syriac, question mark, for dogmatic reasons. You'll see a lot of that, the Hebrew corrupted for their tradition or their interpretation, or, on and on. Men of resource, the patriarchs, perhaps Job. Good catch. As though they had not been. Job 10:19, Obadiah 16. So Hebrew here, their memory abideth forever, and their righteousness shall not be forgotten. Their bodies were buried in peace, but their name liveth unto all generations. The assembly recounteth their wisdom, and the congregation declareth their praise. So it goes into the people now. That was just a broad overview. Enoch walked with Yahuwah and was taken. Remember, R.H. Charles is writing this before the Dead Sea Scrolls, before we had the name brought back. So he's got Yahweh there, which the J didn't exist, so it would be a Y, and the V before would be a U sound. So Yahuwah, and that wouldn't be a E, it would be an A. A miracle of knowledge to all generations. So that's Enoch, a miracle of knowledge to all generations. Greek has an example of repentance to the generations. No, it's the Hebrew. Miracle of knowledge. He give us knowledge. It said, if it was an example of repentance, Enoch wouldn't have been labeled perfect in his generation. So the Greek gets it wrong. So here again, Noah the righteous was found blameless. In the season of his destruction, he became the continuator. So it's like Enoch says Noah was righteous above all except Enoch. For his sake there was a remnant, and by reason of the covenant with him the flood ceased. By an eternal sign God concluded it with him, not to destroy again all flesh. That's the rainbow in the sky, the eternal sign. And I'm just going to go over there. So, yep. Here we've got the sign. Let's see here. Yep. So we seen there, and he has destined thy name to be among the holy, and will preserve thee amongst those who dwell on the earth, and has destined thy righteous seed for both for kingship and for great honors, and from thy seed shall proceed a fountain of righteous and holy without number forever. He's talking about Noah. Say there was a remnant. And yeah, I don't see the sign. It's in there. I can't remember where it's at, but the sign not to destroy again all flesh. Abraham, the father of a multitude of nations. So it goes into Abraham. Tarnish not his glory, who kept the commandment of the Most High and entered into covenant with him. You see that in the book of Jubilees. Abraham teaching the commandments to his sons. In his flesh he engraved him as an ordinance, and in trial he was found faithful. Therefore with an oath he promised him to bless the nations in his seed. And then it switches over to the Greek, to multiply him as the dust of the earth, and to exalt his seed as the stars, to cause them to inherit from sea to sea, and from the river to the ends of the earth. And one end of the earth is Ophir. And Shem's inheritance stretches all the way to Ophir, the ends of the earth. And the Hebrew, and to Isaac also he promised it likewise for his father Abraham's sake, and the blessing of all predecessors rested upon the head of Israel. And he titled him with the dignity of firstborn, and gave him his inheritance, and he set him in tribes so as to be divided into 12. And he caused to issue from him a man who found favor in the sight of all living. So that would be Jacob. Well, no, it goes into Moses. Well, Moses came from Isaac too. Isaac, Jacob, Levi, Kohath, Amram, Moses, I think. Or Amram, Kohath, Moses. Beloved of God and men was Moses of happy memory. And he made him glorious as God, and mighty in all inspiring deeds. By his words he brought signs swiftly to pass, and he emboldened him in the presence of the king, Pharaoh, and gave him a charge unto his people, and showed him his glory. What's that in the bush? Happy Sabbath, trust y'all. Yep, here's one section. Exodus 34:35, and the children of Israel saw the face of Moses, that the skin of Moses' face shone, glory, and Moses put the veil upon his face again until he went in to speak with him. Caused his face to shine. Made him glorious. Yep. Showed him his glory for his faithfulness and meekness, and he chose him out of all flesh. His faithfulness and meekness. We see that in Numbers, right? Numbers 12:3. Now the man Moses was very meek above all men which were upon the face of the earth. And he caused him to hear his voice, and let him draw nigh to the dark cloud. And he placed in his hand the commandment, even the law of life and discernment. So that's where you get your life and your discernment at. That he might teach his statutes unto Jacob, and his testimonies and judgments unto Israel. And he exalted a holy one like unto him, even Aaron of the tribe of Levi, his brother. And he made him an eternal ordinance and bestowed upon him his majesty. So it's eternal, the ordinance with Aaron. Eternal means forever. Hebrew, and he blessed him with his glory and girded him with beauteous magnificence. And he clothed him with the perfection of adornment and adorned him with splendid vestments, the breeches, the tunic, and robe, and encompassed him with pomegranates and with resounding bells round about, that he might make music with his steps, so as to cause the sound of him to be audible in the inmost shrine, for a memorial for the children of his people, with the holy garments of gold and violet and purple, the work of the designer, with the breastplate of judgment, with the ephod and waistcloth, and with scarlet, the work of the weaver, with precious stones, seal engraven, in settings, the work of the stone engraver. For a memorial engraved in writing, according to the number of the tribes of Israel, with the crown of pure gold resting upon the mitre, the diadem engraven, holy to Yahuwah, majesty most glorious, praise most pursuant, the desire of the eyes and the perfection of beauty. Let's go right here. Diadem divine. Off. I'm sure there was a reference in there. They either found an artifact or there was an article. That's interesting. Revelation 19:12. His eyes were a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. He had a name written that no man knew, but he himself. So on his head, that's the KJV translation. Say. On his head were many diadems. Early. Just go over here to. May have to go through and clean this thing out. Remove that. There we go. This is early New Testament manuscripts. Revelation. Go to book and chapter view. Nope, they don't have 19. Before him there was nothing like them, and no stranger shall he clothe therewith forever. So he trusted him and his sons sons throughout their generations. His, Aaron's meal offering is wholly consumed, twice every day as a continual sacrifice. Moses consecrated him and anointed him with the holy oil, and it became for him an eternal covenant, and for his seed as long as the heavens endure, to minister to God, and for him to execute the priest office as long as the heavens endure. So that would be till they're rolled up like a scroll. and to bless his people in his name. He chose him out of all living to bring near the burnt offering and fat pieces, and to burn a sweet savor and a memorial, and make atonement for the children of Israel. And he gave him his commandments, and invested him with authority over statute and judgment, that he might teach his people statutes and judgments unto the children of Israel. But strangers were incensed against him, and became jealous of him in the wilderness, the men of Dathan and Abiram, and the congregation of Korah in their violent anger. So it labels them strangers. That's same term for Gentile nations. And Yahuwah saw it and was angered and consumed them in his fierce wrath, and he brought a sign to pass upon them and devoured them with his fiery flame. And he increased Aaron's glory and gave him his inheritance. The holy contributions he gave him for sustenance, and the fire offerings of Yahuwah they might eat. The presence bread is his portion, and the gift sacrificed for him and for his seed. Strangers. In Numbers 16:40, Hebrews 17:5, stranger is explained as one who is not of the seed of Aaron. Men not of the priestly tribe are here meant. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Also refers to Gentile nations, strangers. Only in the land of the people might he have no heritage, and in their midst divide no inheritance, whose portion and inheritance is Yahuwah, in the midst of the children of Israel. Moreover, Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, was glorious in might as a third. And it's interesting that in the Dead Sea Scrolls it has Eleazar standing up there with, I think, Joshua. But now it just goes from Aaron straight to Phinehas. Was glorious in might as a third, in that he was jealous for the God of all, and stood in the breach for his people, while his heart prompted him, and he made atonement for the children of Israel. Therefore for him too he established an ordinance, a covenant of peace to maintain the sanctuary, that to him and to his seed should appertain the high priesthood forever. Also his covenant was with David, the son of Jesse of the tribe of Judah. The inheritance of the king is his sons alone, while the inheritance of Aaron belongs to him and to his seed. So Messiah came from David, so he got the king inheritance, which he was Melchizedek before, so he already had the high priesthood. And now bless ye Yahuwah, who has crowned you with honor. May he grant you wisdom of heart to judge his people in righteousness, that your prosperity may never cease, nor your power for perpetual generations. Wisdom of heart. Also in Hebrew, heart is mind. So wisdom of mind. To judge. You have to have wisdom, knowledge to judge righteously. A mighty man of valor, 46. Mighty man of valor was Joshua the son of Nun, a minister of Moses in the prophetical office, who was formed to be according to his name, a great salvation for his chosen, to take vengeance upon the enemy, and to give an inheritance to Israel. Okay, so it went from Aaron to Phinehas to Joshua. Joshua was with Eleazar. Okay, I think I know why it mentioned Phinehas before Joshua and after Aaron. Because of what he did beforehand. How do you spell it? Phinehas. Phinehas. No. Yeah, that's why he's mentioned in there. Let's see. Yeah, he stood up and stayed the plague in, there's the Numbers. Yep. Numbers 25:7. When Phinehas the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, saw it, he rose up from among the congregation and took a javelin in his hand. And he went after the man of Israel into the tent, thrust both of them through, the man of Israel and the woman through her belly, so the plague was stayed from the children of Israel. So he went in and killed them. Yep, so then it goes to Joshua, who was formed to be according to his name. So Joshua was formed to be according to his name. A great salvation for his chosen, Israel, all the way to the end, to take vengeance upon the enemy and to give an inheritance to Israel. How glorious was he when he stretched forth his hand and brandished the javelin against the city. Who was he that could stand before him? For he fought the wars of Yahuwah. And when they were fighting the wars, I don't think they were worried about dead bodies. So Hebrew, was it not through him that the sun stood still, and one day became as two? For he was called upon, he called upon the Most High God. So it says in the Hebrew, it has the sun stood still. Joshua 10:13. This is the Septuagint, the Greek translation. And the sun and the moon stood still until God executed vengeance on their enemies, and the sun stood still in the midst of heaven. It did not proceed to set till the end of one day. Additional day without a night between. So you'll see that's in there. The sun stood still, but in the Septuagint, it does not quote Jasher. That's not there. See? The Midrash Jasher, the Jewish legend. But somehow they got it added into translations. So here, yeah, here we go. So here it goes. Upon the enemies is it not written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven. Sun stood still. Finished on the enemies. It's not there. So, and then you got also 2 Samuel 1:18, Jasher. 2 Samuel 1:18. It's really not complicated. You just go to Septuagint says Kings, 1 Kings, 2 Kings, 2 Samuel. You can just go to Jewish midrashes and you'll see Yashar right there. So 17, 18. So 18, we'll just read 17, 18. David lamented with this lamentation over Saul and over Jonathan his son. He gave orders to teach it to the sons of Judah. Behold, it is written in the book of Right. So it's got book of Right here. I know there's another. Oh, no, it ain't. No, it ain't. So you go here. Pretty sure these are missing. Joshua. Yep. 10:13. Not there. 2 Samuel 1:18. 1:18. No, we don't have that portion either. So you see in the Septuagint, it don't even quote the book of the Right, but in 2 Samuel it does, written in the book of the Right. But that does not mean Yashar is scripture. The book of the upright is Jubilees. So And it does, in Jubilees, it does have reference. Which one is it? Yep. So David teaches sons of Judah the bow. I think it's like Jubilees 34, 38. Like Jacob. So, for he called upon the Most High God when he was in sore straits and his enemies round him, and the Most High God answered him with hailstones and bolts. He cast them down upon the hostile people, and in the going down he destroyed them that rose up, in order that all the nations devoted to destruction might know that Yahuwah was watching their fighting, and also because he fully followed after God, and did an act of piety in the days of Moses, he and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, in that they stood firm when the congregation broke loose, to turn away wrath from the assembly, and to cause the evil report to cease. Wherefore also they too were set apart from among the 600,000 footmen, to bring them into their inheritance, into a land flowing with milk and honey. Excuse me. That's why I like the stuff that we find, the old manuscripts and stuff, because we'll see stuff that maybe didn't make it into our Bible, or maybe accidentally dropped out, So it's pretty cool. And he gave strength unto Caleb, and unto old age it remained with him, to cause him to tread upon the high places of the land. And also his seed obtained a heritage, in order that all the seed of Jacob might know that it is good to follow fully after Yahuwah. Also the judges, so it skips from Caleb and Joshua to the judges. Also the judges, each with his name. So that's pretty big names. We get Enoch, we get Noah, we get Moses, we get Phineas, we get Joshua, Caleb. So they're set with some pretty big names. Also the judges, each with his name, all whose hearts were not beguiled. We're warned about that. That was in what? It's been happening ever since creation. Genesis 3:13, and Yahuwah Elohim said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. He's still doing the same thing he did all the way back then. Happy Sabbath, Rosie. And yeah, so like he said, don't eat of the tree, and they're like, oh, he don't mean don't eat of the tree. And so they ate the tree. And then he says, don't eat pork. But what do people do? Oh, he didn't really say that. What? You can eat pork. And then beguiled. He's doing the same thing. Nor turn back from following after God. May their memory be for a blessing. May their bones flourish again out of their place. Ezekiel 37, Isaiah 24. Resurrection. Pretty sure it's both of those. And Paul talks about it. Ezekiel 37. Yep. Resurrection. And Isaiah 24. Maybe it's 27. 26. Yep, betcha. 26. No? Awake and sing, you that dwell in the dust. Thy dead men shall live, together with my dead body shall they arise. May their name sprout afresh for their children. Honored by his people and loved by his maker was he that was asked for from his mother's womb. sanctified of Yahuwah in the prophetical office, Samuel, who acted as judge and priest. So judge and priest. By the word of Elohim, he established the kingdom and anointed princes over the people. Saul, David. By means of the commandment, he commanded the congregation, and he mustered the tents of Jacob. Because of his truthfulness, they sought the prophet, and the seer was also found reliable in his words. And moreover, he called upon God when his enemies surrounded him on every side, in that he offered up a sucking lamb and cried unto Yahuwah. And Yahuwah thundered from heaven. With a mighty crash his voice was heard, and he subdued the garrisons of the enemy and destroyed all the princes of the Philistines. And at that time when he rested upon his bed, he called Yahuwah and his anointed to witness, from whom have I taken a bribe, even a pair of shoes? His anointed, one of those would be, it might be Saul, because Saul was anointed. And no man accused him, and also to the time of his end he was found upright in the eyes of Yahuwah and in the eyes of all living. Moreover, after he died, he was inquired of. He declared unto the king his way. That's when Saul brought him up out of the grave. He went to the woman and brought Samuel up. Saul and is it diviner? Yep. Anyways, so there's a witness to that being in there. Moreover, after he died, he was inquired of. So you can do it, but the Torah says we're not supposed to do that stuff. And he lifted his voice from the earth to blot out iniquity by prophecy. Lawlessness. And moreover, after him stood up Nathan to serve in the presence of David. For as the fat is separated from the offering, so was David separated from Israel. He played with lions as with kids, and with bears as with calves of Bashan. So after him stood up Nathan. In his youth he slew the giant, Goliath, and he took away the reproach from the people. When he swung his hand with the sling and broke the pride of Goliath, he called unto God Most High. And he gave strength to his right hand, so that he struck down the hero versed in war, and exalted the horn of his people. Therefore the daughters sang of him, and honored him with slayer of 10,000. When he had put on the diadem he fought. So there's that diadem again. He subdued the enemies on all sides, so this might be the king's diadem. I don't think David's wearing the high priest diadem. And plundered the Philistine cities, and broke their horn unto this day, their authority, their rule, their horn, their kingship. In all that he did, he gave thanks unto God Most High with words of glory. With his whole heart he loved his Maker, and sang praise every day continually. Music of stringed instruments he ordained before the altar, and set the singing of psalms to harps. He gave comeliness to the feast, and set in order the seasons throughout the year. Dead Sea Scrolls shows that he had songs for the Sabbath, all the feasts, the new months. He had something for all the days of the year. That's another witness to the 364 days solar Enoch calendar. Where's it at? There we go. Let's see. That is awesome. The scroll is huge. You can zoom in too. That's the great Psalm scroll that was found. And the book of Ben Sira, chapter 51, was attached onto it. Where's it at? Yeah, 364 Psalms for each day of the year. So, yep, there's a writing in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It says David composed 3,600 psalms, 364 psalms to be performed each day of the year during regular sacrifices, another 52 psalms for the weekly Sabbath, 30 psalms for sacrifices of annual festivals and new months, not moons. And 4 songs for the sick. Therefore, LQ5, that's where it's at, concludes with a bold statement that David was an avid sage and hymnist, crafting upwards of 4,050 psalms. Oh, yes. By the power of the Most High, Father. Also, he gave to him the decree of the kingdom. Let's see, did I miss something? Yep. Music of stringed instruments he ordained for the altar, set the singing of psalms to harps. He gave comeliness to the feast, set in order. For that he gave praise to his holy name. So David knew his name. Before morning, the sanctuary resounded. Yahuwah also put away his sin and lifted up his horn forever. And the Dead Sea Scrolls give more detail about this. What went on there? Why did he put away his sin? Lifted up his horn forever. Also, he gave to him the decree of the kingdom and established his throne over Israel. And for his sake there stood up after him a wise son who dwelt in safety. Solomon reigned in the days of peace, and God gave him rest round about, who prepared a house for his name and set up sanctuary forever. How wise wast thou in thy youth, and didst overflow like the Nile with instruction. Thou didst cover the earth with thy soul, and didst gather parables like the sea. You got the wisdom of Solomon, the Psalms of Solomon, the Odes of Solomon, the Proverbs. A lot of the stuff they took out and got rid of. But, yeah, he had wisdom. And it's interesting, it says sanctuary forever in the Dead Sea Scroll, or not Dead Sea Scrolls, Enoch. Yeah, I think it's the Animal Dream Vision. When he comes back, he just shows them taking the temple and destroying the one that's here and bringing the new one in. So that's interesting. Is the temple hidden somewhere? Are they not telling us something? Thy name reached unto the isles afar off. Yep, the isles afar off. Ophir, Philippines, Queen of Sheba. And they listened for the report of thee. If you haven't read this, I highly recommend it. It will fill in a lot of blanks because our history has been hidden from us. Let's see. You got to ignore a bunch of the other stuff. It's like garbage. You got to wade through all the garbage. Where's it at? Let's go. Ophir. Yeah, we go. Okay, ophirinstitute.com. That's easy. Yeah, I still want to get that Garden of Eden maps, all the ancient maps that pointed to where it was at. People used to know that. Solomon's Treasure, this book here gives you get the ebook free. You don't even have to buy it. You can just read it for free. Who does that? I'd rather have a paper copy, but you know. So you can go here and no. Here. Yep, but they go through all their documentation and how they proved it. There you go. And you can test it for yourself. ophirinstitute.com. I'm going to leave a link here. Copy. Since I brought it up, I'm going to leave you a link. Right. And they've got LeviteBible.com too. It's a very good one. It's not perfect, but it's got a lot of good stuff in it. Do you know if any of the translations out there, if they expand on which birds of the heavens we can eat? I'm doing a study on it. Leviticus 11, Deuteronomy 14, only list of birds not to eat. I go to the Dead Sea Scrolls, I go to the Septuagint, I go to the Samaritan Pentateuch. When I'm doing a study like that, I'll look in the Targums, I'll look in KJV, I'll look in the Geneva, I'll look all over the place. Me personally. From what I can tell, with the birds you can eat, ones you can't, the ones you can eat are not birds of prey. So the birds of prey are the ones you can't eat. So, like vulture, raven, owl, birds of prey. Pigeon, turtle doves, of course, quail. Clean eyes, a good description. Fin and scales, chew, split hoof, yeah. But to me, it's obvious when I'm reading the lists and going through them that it's birds of prey. But that's just me. I'm not going to force that on anybody because that's just what I see in it. So the ones that aren't birds of prey should be okay for food. In which I pretty much just eat chicken. I tried duck eggs. Ugh, not good at all. So I just eat chicken. And chicken's clean, as far as I can tell. So that's my 2 cents on it. Hopefully that was helpful. So by thy songs, parables, dark speeches, and satyrs, thou didst cause astonishment to the peoples. Thou wast called by the glorious name, which is called over Israel. Called by the glorious name. The glorious name would be Father's name, right? Yahuwah? Or Yahusha? It says Solomon was called by the glorious name. I don't know. Thou didst heap up gold like tin, and abundance of silver like lead, and thou gavest thy loins unto women, and didst give them to rule over thy body. Yep. Yea, thou broughtest a blemish upon thine honor, and did defilest thy bed. And I've run into some people that'll tell me, like Solomon's, he went to the trash, or he went bad, so then his books aren't good. But he had tons of wisdom in a long time before he got to this point. And then he messed it all up. Yea, thou broughtest a blemish upon thine honor, and didst defile thy bed, so as to bring wrath upon thy progeny, and sighing concerning thy bed. So he took the kingdom from his sons. So the people became 2 scepters, and out of Ephraim arose a sinful kingdom. That's the northern 10 tribes. Nevertheless, God did not forsake his mercy, nor did he suffer any of his words to fall to the ground. He will not cut off the posterity of his chosen, nor will he destroy the offspring of them that love him. Love him and keep his commandments. And he will give to Jacob a remnant, and to the house of David a root from him. Romans 9:27, he quotes Isaiah, also crieth concerning Israel, though the number of the children of Israel be as the sand of the sea, a remnant shall be saved. So it's a promise. And Solomon slept in Jerusalem, and left after him one that was overbearing, great in folly and lacking in understanding. Was he who by his counsel made the people revolt, and then he arose of him let there be no memorial, who sinned and made Israel to sin and put a stumbling block in the way of Ephraim. Is that Rehoboam or Jeroboam? Jeroboam, I think. To drive them from their land, and their sin became very great, and they sold themselves to do all manner of evil. So that's the northern 10 tribes got scattered. Yeah, 1 Kings 14:10. Therefore, behold, I will bring evil upon the house of Jeroboam, and will cut off. It's really a Y, Jeroboam, him that pisseth against the wall, and him that is shut up and left in Israel, and will take away the remnant of the house of Jeroboam, as a man taketh away dung, till it be all gone. And yeah, Father doesn't have a problem putting it in terms that you can understand. So, until there arose a prophet like fire, whose word was like a burning furnace. This is one of my favorite parts here. Who's he talking about? And he broke for them the staff of bread, and by his zeal made them few in number. By the word of God he shut the heavens. Elijah. I should have saved that for next time and read the whole Elijah portion to go with it. Shut the heavens. Where's that at? Prayed no rain. Yep, so James 5, he talks about it. Elias was a man subject like unto passions as we are, and he prayed earnestly that it might not rain. It rained not on the earth by the space of 3 years and 6 months. And he prayed again, the heaven gave rain, the earth brought forth her fruit. It is, oh goodness. Elijah prayed. Obadiah is in the time of Elijah. Second Kings 2:1, so it'd be chapter 1. So we got one chapter for Elijah. Fire also descended thrice. Yeah, it talks about him calling down fire. Killed the captain of the 50. Second Kings 1:8. They answered him, he was a hairy man with a girdle of leather about his loins, and he said, it is Elijah the Tishbite. Then the king sent unto him a captain of 50 with his 50, and he went up to him, and behold, he sat on top of a hill, and he spake unto him, thou man of God, the king hath said, come down. And Elijah answered and said to the captain of 50, if I be a man of God, then let fire come down from heaven and consume thee and thy 50. And there came down fire from heaven and consumed him and his 50. Again, also he sent unto him another captain of 50 with his 50, and he answered and said unto him, O man of God, thus hath the king said, come down quickly. And Elijah answered and said unto them, if I be a man of God, let fire come down from heaven and consume thee and thy 50. And the fire came down from heaven and consumed him and his 50. And he sent again a captain of the third 50 with his 50, and the third captain of 50 went up and came and fell on his knees before Elijah and besought him and said unto him, O man of God, I pray thee, let my life and the life of these 50 thy servants be precious in thy sight. So the king told the man to come and take the servants, and the man couldn't just tell the king no, because he would have got killed there, so he had to go to Elijah. Behold, there came fire down from heaven and burned up the two captains of the former 50s with their 50s. Therefore let my life now be precious in thy sight. And the messenger of Yahuwah said unto Elijah, go down with him, be not afraid of him. And he arose and went down with him unto the king. And he said unto him, thus saith Yahuwah, for as much as thou hast sent messengers to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron. See, Beelzebub, the god of Ekron. They have spiritual divisions in places that they're over. Is it not because there is no God in Israel to inquire of his word? Therefore thou shalt not come down off thy bed on which thou art gone up, but shalt surely die. So Elijah calls down fire, burns him up, and then he prophesies and tells him, you're going to die. So he died according to the word of Yahuwah, which Elijah had spoken. And Jehoram reigned in his stead in the 2nd year of Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Yehudah, because he had no son. How terrible wast thou, Elijah, and he who is like thee shall be glorified. Who's he talking about? He who is like thee shall be glorified. Now, obviously, the apostles knew about this. Yep, you see Revelation 13:13. Well, no, that's the... Who is that? Yeah, that's talking about the beast. False signs and wonders. So he sent... But I do think Elijah is one of the two witnesses, but it doesn't apply to that passage. Fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. Okay, where's it at? You know not what manner spirit you are. Luke, there we go, Luke 9. And when his disciples, James and John, saw this, they said, so James and John said this, Lord, wilt thou that we command fire to come down from heaven and consume them, even as Elijah did? Could you imagine asking the Messiah, if he's standing right here, are we going to command fire to come down and consume them like Elijah? But he turned and rebuked them and said, you know not what manner of spirit you are. For the Son of Man has not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. See, Elijah lived in a different time. And we live in a different time. And whoever the saints are, after the Antichrist comes and, we get the world order and all that stuff, the saints are going to come and they're going to kick butt. Absolute devastation, slaughter. So, different spirits for different times. So, it's interesting here. It says, he who is like thee shall be glorified. That just reminds me, you see the light or the glory of Yah went on to Moses, and then you see, I just think there's something to it. You'll see this. I think you see it in Enoch. It's all over the place. Isaiah 60, arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of Yahuwah is risen upon thee. And this obviously talks about Messiah. Gentiles shall come to thy light, kings the brightness of thy rising. But you'll see later on, it mentions the isles. And it goes into, thy people shall be all righteous, they shall inherit the land forever. And the sun shall no more go down. You see that in Revelation. Neither shall the moon withdraw itself. For Yahuwah shall be an everlasting light. Days of thy mourning shall be ended. Blessed are those who mourn. Yeah, that's the end times verse. Arise, shine, for thy light is come. Darkness shall cover the earth. And it could reference the Messiah too. But he was already shining. He already had the glory of Yahuwah. Who did raise up a dead man from death and from Sheol according to the good pleasure of Yahuwah. So he raised the dead, who brought us down kings to the pit, and them that were honored from their beds, who heard us rebukes in Sinai. I don't think we get that in the scriptures. And there's also a apocryphal work, well, another work of Elijah that was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, but it's so fragmentary you can barely make anything out. So he had a writing. And judgments of vengeance in Horeb, who anointest kings for retribution, and a prophet as successor in thy place, who was taken upwards in a whirlwind, and by fiery troops to the heavens, who art ready for the time as it is written, to still wrath before the fierce anger of God. It says he's taken to the heavens. We know the Messiah is the only person that ascended to heaven, but we also see in Jubilees, Enoch went to the Garden of Eden, and he was taken up in a similar manner to still the wrath before the fierce anger of God. Yep, so he's ready for the time. He's sitting in the Garden of Eden with Enoch, ready to still wrath before the fierce anger of God. To turn the heart of the fathers unto the children, and to restore the tribes of Israel. Right, so we see that. Was that Malachi? That's end times context. A lot of people apply it to John because of what the Gospels say, but John said, I'm not Elijah to come. Straight out of his mouth, he said, I'm not Elijah to come. See? He tells you right here, behold, I will send Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of Yahuwah. And he shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to the fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. Malachi chapter 4. Blessed is he that seeth thee and dieth. So see Elijah and die. And then this is missing. That's kind of it's kind of telling that it's missing. And that's talking about the end times right here. And restore the tribes of Israel happens at the end. Elijah was hidden in the heavenly chambers. So there you go. We see right there. Garden of Eden. The heavenly on earth. Book of Jubilees. It's one of the holiest places on earth. So it's considered a heavenly chamber. Then was Elijah filled with his spirit. Elisha filled with the Spirit. In double measure did he multiply signs, and marvelous was all that went forth out of his mouth. All his days he moved before no man, and no flesh exercised authority over his spirit. And surely he wrote something too. Nothing was too wonderful for him, and from his grave his flesh prophesied. In his life he did wonderful acts, and in his death marvelous works. For all of this the people turned not, and ceased not from their sins, until they were plucked from their land, and scattered in all the earth. And there were left unto Judah but a few. So they got scattered in the earth. That's Elijah was prophesying to the northern kingdom, then Elisha, and then the northern kingdom got scattered. And there were left unto Judah but a few, but still a prince was left unto the house of David. Some among them did that which was right, and some among them committed fearful sin. Hezekiah fortified his city, in that he brought water into the midst thereof, and he hewed through the rocks with iron. Excuse me. They found these in archaeology here recently, where they brought the water in, and there was an inscription of Isaiah or something there, I think. Canals found. Yeah, pretty cool. August 30th, 2023, find mystery ducks near biblical Jerusalem. All these pop-ups. Pop, 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 pop. Yep. Pretty cool. 2,800 years ago, maybe. And hewed through the rocks with iron, and dammed up the pool with mountains. In his days Sennacherib came up, and sent Rabshakeh, and stretched forth his hand against Zion, and blasphemed God in his arrogancy. Yep. Rabshakeh. Yeah, of course it's not going to. Check it. Speak ye now to Hezekiah. Yeah, I think he was mocking them at one point too. So then were they shaken in the pride of their heart, and they writhed as a woman in travail. And they called unto God Most High, and spread out their hands unto him. And he heard the voice of their prayer, and saved them by the hand of Isaiah. And he smote the army of Assyria, and discomforted them by the plague. For Hezekiah did that which was good, and was strong in the ways of David, which Isaiah the prophet commanded him, who was great and faithful in his vision. In his days the sun went backward, and he added life unto the king. By a spirit of might he saw the future, and comforted the mourners of Zion. Unto eternity he declared the things that shall be, and hidden things before they came to pass. That would be Isaiah the prophet right there. And Isaiah is loaded. That book is, all scripture is loaded, but tons of stuff in Isaiah. So, all right. I guess I'll stop there. 48. That was pretty good. I wanted to read all of it, but I want to keep the video around an hour. Man, I don't want it to be too long. So, all right. Well, I hope that was a blessing and helpful to somebody. And, yep. We should be able to finish up next time. 49, 50, yeah, 51. There's some cool stuff coming up too, or good stuff. Yeah, 51. Yeah, a good little bit there. Yep. All right. Toda Rabbah. You're welcome. Praise Yah. Glad I could share and study with you. So, pretty good. If y'all have anything to add, comments, something maybe I missed, I'd like to hear about it, so I can learn too, which I do when I'm reading it. But learn from other people. So, all right. Have a good rest of the Sabbath.